Blake Lively has me defending Candace Owens, Perez Hilton, and siding with Piers Morgan, and I fucking hate it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Chanel. Oui, bienvenue. Welcome. Guys, I hate that we live in a world where I agree with some of my biggest ops, but the world's been flipped upside down, the orbit reversed, and turned inside out, so here we are. The amount of videos I have dedicated solely to Blake Lively is kind of crazy, but this lawsuit has been taking up so much space in my tiny bird brain, so I won't be letting it go anytime soon. Hollywood's biggest hypocrite, Blake Lively, has claimed that she is a victim of digital warfare and violence. Someone get out the tiny violin and say a little prayer for our feminist martyr. The feminist martyr who also defended Harvey Weinstein and Woody Allen. So anyway, as we know, 10 of the 13 claims that Blake Lively made against Justin Baldoni and Wayfair parties have been dismissed by Judge Lyman, which prompted Blake to crash out on her Instagram stories, cherry-picking quotes from the court's ruling, trying to make herself look like as much of the victim as possible. If you want more details on that, I recommend watching my last video, but today we're going to talk about the alleged digital warfare against Blake Lively. I'm going to be super petty in this video. I'm really fucking tired of this bullshit. Really fucking tired of Blake trying to flip the narrative, manipulating other people's words, and cherry-picking evidence to support her victim narrative. Throughout this entire lawsuit, Blake Lively has been deliberately misrepresenting facts and evidence, and it's pissing me the fuck off, and I just won't allow it. It all started with that dumb New York Times article, We Can Bury Anyone, where Blake and the traitor Stephanie Jones, as well as Blake Lively's publicist Leslie Sloan, filed a sham lawsuit to justify invading someone else's personal private messages, cherry-picking from those messages to make Justin Baldoni appear as bad as possible. The exact moment that I read the actual messages that Justin and his publicist at the time, Jen Abel, were sending back and forth and compared it to what Blake and her team had claimed in that New York Times article was the exact moment my trust in her completely shattered. Actually, you know what? I wanted to believe her so badly, because I always want to believe women, that I still gave her the benefit of the doubt after reading the actual text messages. Because when I read her lawsuit and the way that she characterized the slow dancing scene with Justin, I was on her side again until the video actually came out. And that's when I lost all respect, because this woman is very obviously weaponizing the Me Too movement for her own personal gain. And it's backfiring miserably, which brings me so much joy. And don't forget that this lawsuit was always about sexual harassment. That was her claim at the very beginning. But of course, Blake Lively is trying to gaslight the entire world with a ChatGPT-ass response claiming that no, it was actually always about retaliation. Blake Lively has continued to prove that she cannot ever be wrong, and that arrogance is precisely her downfall. On her story, Blake writes, "Don't be distracted by the digital soap opera. The constant packaging of this lawsuit as a celebrity drama is not only irresponsible, but it is by design, to keep you from seeing yourselves in my story." Shut the f up. Ooh, this entire response pissed me the hell off. This post actually received a community note from an Instagram user. It says, "This contains cherry-picked information from the federal judge's ruling, which actually threw out 10 out of 13 of Blake's claims, the core one being sexual harassment. The judge found that many of her claims of sexual harassment also did not rise to that level, and that the behavior in question was part of normal improvisation expected for that kind of scene." This post also ignores the fact that Blake had in fact kissed Justin Baldoni without his consent. And that last line is referring to a scene that I don't believe made it into the final cut, if I remember correctly, though it's been a while since I've seen the movie. But in this scene, Blake improvises a kiss with Justin. I know that briefly this community note was removed somehow, and apparently it's not available available in places outside of the US, but it reappeared the next day, and I assume it's still there because people have been saying that this note is helpful with that little thumbs up at the bottom, which is hilarious, and I can just imagine Blake and Ryan crashing out behind the scenes. I'm so glad that it's up there as a fact checker, and that people seemingly agree with it, meaning a lot more people are likely on Justin's side. As I said in my last video, this is not a question of gender-based discrimination. This is a question of wealth and power and how you can use those things to manipulate the systems in your favor. No. Blake Lively is not the victim here. Blake Lively is not the victim of digital warfare or digital violence. But you know who is? All of the creators that she used digital violence against. But let's start with, of course, her primary victim, Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties. January 2026, Blake Lively's legal team filed court documents with personal identifying information that was ordered to be redacted. If you want more information on that, I have a video. I'll link it in the iCard above. But in these particular documents were full names, home addresses, and other confidential information about the Wayfarer parties. But not only was it not redacted, it was marked in yellow, literally highlighted, to quote-unquote indicate that that information needed to be redacted before filing, and this information was up and available for the public to view for 15 fucking hours until the Wayfarer parties sent a letter to Judge Lyman requesting that that information be redacted. How Lively got away with this, I have no idea, but what makes it 10 billion times worse is that the Wayfarer parties had already been receiving threats. In fact, there was arson committed at the home of Steve Sarowitz, and this individual tried extorting the family for $80,000 and threatened to kidnap his daughter. His letter said, "If you fail to comply, we will take Steve Sarowitz's daughter's name hostage and she won't make graduation. At that point, we will ask for more money. If you guys are prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family, we are sure you can spare a few for your daughter." Justin also sold his house in Ojai, presumably because he was doxxed by Lively, and Justin had shared that he was already receiving death threats. So I'm sure he and his family probably felt extremely unsafe in their own home. I feel like the doxing situation is not being talked about enough. I just can't believe Lively's legal team, made up of some very well-respected and esteemed lawyers, would either be too stupid or evil enough to share information that would put other individuals' life at risk. So yes, Blake, as you said in that Instagram post, the physical pain from digital violence is very real. Ryan also jumped in to contribute to the digital warfare. Probably one of the most obvious was his inclusion of the character Nicepool in his movie Deadpool and Wolverine. Y'all, I had not seen Nicepool scenes from the movie until literally just an hour ago. After watching that, what the actual Ryan is psychotic. Those scenes were so much worse than I ever imagined them to be. They were insanely disturbing. The amount of references he makes to Justin makes me think that he's actually obsessed with him. In the movie, Ryan makes references to Justin's appearance when Justin had longer hair and would wear it in a bun sometimes. He also made fun of Justin's low bone density that Justin had shared with his trainer because Justin has a history of back injuries. Nicepool also makes a comment about another character, Ladypool, who's voiced by Blake Lively, and says, "Just had a baby too, and you can't even tell." And Deadpool responds to Nicepool by telling him that that's an inappropriate comment, and Nicepool responds, "That's okay, I identify as a feminist." And this is presumably mocking Justin for when Justin asked Blake's personal trainer about how much she weighed, because there was a scene where he had to lift her in the It Ends With Us movie, and Justin, being prone to back injuries, needed to know to prepare himself for this scene. And that trainer went and snitched to Blake, framing it as if Justin was fat-shaming her. Ryan also did an interview where he talks about how much he loved killing Nicepool.
I loved killing Nicepool because Nicepool, as much as he projected that he was wonderful, he was a terrible human being. And I like that Deadpool gets to lean into that anti-hero thing and gets to lean into his childlike desires. I want that. Be it Nicepool's guns, his gold-plated guns, or his dog that really should be with Wade because the dog and Wade look the same. I like sort of acting out envy in that way.
This interview also has a Freudian slip, in my opinion, because Ryan admits that Deadpool is envious of Nicepool, and if art does really mimic life, I wonder. But that should be no surprise to anyone. And regarding Jamie Heath, don't forget that Blake demanded to see the full video of Jamie Heath's wife giving birth to their child, because apparently Jamie showed Blake a photo from the birth trying to explain his vision for the birth scene in the movie, and in the lawsuit she claimed that it was pornographic. So sexualizing childbirth and also demanding to see the full video of a very vulnerable, intimate family moment. And because it had to be shared with Blake, of course, it had to be part of the evidence submitted. So this video was shared with way more people than just Blake. But no. Blake is the victim here. Oh, but surely digital violence was not used to threaten smaller creators. Wait. She did threaten smaller creators? No f***ing way. You heard that right, folks. Blake Lively came for smaller creators and essentially terrorized them. Lively's team subpoenaed Google, Twitter, and TikTok to get information on some content creators, including their names, emails, IP addresses, physical addresses, bank account, and credit card numbers. She's asking for this information to prove that Justin and his team were paying these content creators to smear Blake's name. From the dockets, I calculated 43 total creators. Insane. 7 of them TikTok creators, 16 YouTubers, and 20 Twitter users. I also found an article that said that 107 content creators had been subpoenaed by Lively's team. However, I couldn't find any court documents with subpoenas that added up to that 107 number, but from what I could find, there were at least 43 creators that were subpoenaed. Some of these people have less than a 1K follower count. Why the hell would these individuals be paid by Baldoni and Wayfarer if they don't have that big of a following? It doesn't make any sense to me. It feels like it's just an intimidation tactic to silence people and scare them from saying anything negative about Blake. That's just indefensible. And to ask for their bank account information and their credit card numbers, what is wrong with you? Sick in the head, I swear to God. Among the creators subpoenaed were Andy Signore, who has the YouTube channel Popcorn Planet, Katie Paulson, who's Without a Crystal Ball, and of course, Shashti Flaw, the one reporter who Blake bullied on camera after she congratulated Blake on her pregnancy, which Blake somehow took offense to, even though she'd already publicly announced it. And in addition, she also subpoenaed Perez Hilton and Candace Owens, who both had a lot of criticism for Blake. And the cherry on top of this, probably one of the cherries that she handpicked for her cherry evidence pie, is that she also doxed these content creators. Her legal team is sinister. Though I have nothing good to say about the deplorable people that are Perez Hilton and Candace Owens, they still did not deserve to be attacked, terrorized, and doxed by Blake Lively. And Piers Morgan chimed in on Blake's statement saying, I've read a lot of Wait, should I do it in a British accent? I've read a lot of laughably disingenuous celebrity guff in my time. This statement by Blake Lively takes the proverbial biscuit. She is destroying her brand with this ridiculous case and is now reduced to playing the I'm doing it for the world's children card. Pathetic. Blake Lively is making me agree with the deplorable people that are Perez Hilton, Candace Owens, and Piers Morgan. Who would have thunk? And I think probably one of the worst things about this is that many of these creators who are much smaller and definitely do not have the same financial resources as Blake simply don't have the means to defend themselves in court. And of course, legal fees can rack up to thousands of dollars. So essentially, threatening them with lawsuits is taking away their freedom of speech and their right to criticize public figures. Thankfully, she ended up dropping those subpoenas. But if Blake truly wants to look like the victim, she has to play the part well, and this move was one of the stupidest she could have made. One of the smaller creators that Blake bullied was Lauren Needig, or Needi, not entirely sure how to pronounce her name, but she shared that it was extremely difficult for her to fight off Blake's demands because she just simply did not have the resources. And after Judge Lyman's ruling, some Blake Lively supporters went literally off the rail. Lauren tweeted, "Some freak tracked down my phone number to leave a long rant on my voicemail about Blake Lively's lawsuit. If you find yourself so attached to these things that you feel the need to harass a stranger stranger, you need to think about whether or not it's healthy for you to follow these things. Sharing an opinion online is a lawful expression of speech. Directly contacting someone to send annoying, berating, or threatening messages is harassment. Not only that, but your intended message gets totally lost behind the fear of you seeming very unwell. The woman said she's a member of the Writers Guild of America and that I wasn't there, so I shouldn't be talking about this very public case. Of note, she was not there either, and yet feels it's appropriate to harass strangers about it. I'm wondering if she's contacted everyone else on the internet yet, or if she just feels like I'm special. Time for Hollywood to get over themselves. Seriously, what the fuck? Lauren does share that she did a reverse phone number search and was seemingly able to find the alleged caller. I won't be sharing that information. I don't want to contribute to any escalations, and truly, if she does care that much about this case that she's harassing people who are sharing their opinions online, then I'm pretty concerned for her mental well-being. I'm really struggling to understand what Lively Party's endgame is here. She has nothing. The public has clearly turned on her completely. Her reputation is a dumpster fire, and from here on out, there's just no way that she can repair it. She has proved that she's an extreme liability for any movie set, that she's irresponsible with people's sensitive information, that she'll hire lawyers with no moral compass, and will do literally anything she can to take you down. If you're still on Blake's side, I just need to know why. How can you see everything that's unfolded and still support her? There is no smear campaign against Blake Lively. She is not and never was the victim, and she deserves everything that's coming her way. I will share also that I have been a Justin Baldoni fan for a very long time, since the Jane the Virgin days. I followed him closely then and really saw him as a genuine, caring person. He seemed to uphold these values in everything that he did, and sure, sometimes I actually did find that what he was saying was a little bit preachy, but never ever in my mind did I ever think that he was coming from a malicious place. And I realize I don't know him in real life, so of course I can't say for certain, but there's just something deep in my gut that tells me that Justin is not the person that Blake wants us to believe he is. Before we end today, I did also want to highlight that Sony is currently being sued by the choreographer for the NSYNC Bye 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 dance because they used that dance in the new Deadpool movie without crediting or compensating him. If there's one thing that Blake and Ryan are really good at, it's bullying other people and claiming authorship of things that were never theirs to begin with. Well, that's where I'm going to end it for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and leave a comment down below. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button as well. And hopefully I'll see y'all in the next one.